gun, by the way, this print's a little bit long. It says the Heller's gun, a Harrington and Richardson, or H&R, Longhorn model, a 9-shot 22 revolver. That was his gun. And he carried it around in this red velvet bag. So we'll see that later. But a 9-shot 22, that was the gun. Okay. So we look at the case, those of you that read the materials tonight, you see here's what Justice Scalia did. He analyzed the text of the amendment. And he went over these controversial words that people have been arguing about. The people, he says, means all individuals, not just a subset. What subset? Well, not just if you're in the militia. The people in the Second Amendment, that term refers to everybody in the national community. So if you're in the United States and you're a United States citizen, definitely you're part of the people. If you're living in the United States and you're not a citizen, are you part of the people? Yeah, probably, but it's more of a gray area there. But the point is that you don't have to be a member of the militia to have the Second Amendment apply to you, according to Scalia. To keep arms means to have weapons. He took many pages to decide that, but he decided that. And then to bear arms means to carry weapons. But he also identified that it carries an implication that when you bear arms, you're also prepared to use them. That you're a user of weapons and that you could use them effectively and efficiently in a setting where you would need that. Now, of course, in colonial times, that meant that you were in the militia, or you could use your gun in the militia. But you could also use it in self-defense or a bar fight or whatever it is, bear arms. The well-regulated militia, this was obvious at the time. It meant trained groups of physically capable armed men. At the time, it was white men, free men, who were between the ages of 18 and 45, and able-bodied. I'm not sure what the definition of able-bodied was, but if you're a white guy between 18 and 45, you are in the militia. That's it, okay? And in most states, you were actually required to have a firearm. The key in this case, District of Columbia versus Heller, is, well, at the time, these militia guys had to have a firearm. In fact, there was a 1792 Militia Act that said that. But here today in 2013 or 2008, when this case was decided, should we require that you be in the militia in order to have the right to carry a gun or not? Next, he decided this: the security of a free state. It means the security of the polity as a whole, meaning everybody, the entire nation, not just a particular state. So this is a little bit nuanced, but the security of a free state, that phrase in the Second Amendment, it doesn't refer to Pennsylvania or Virginia or so forth. It means the state as a whole, in other words, the political nation. Okay, so here's the originalism part. Justice Scalia, I already told you what he decided, things like bear arms and keep arms and free state and so forth meant. How did he decide what those terms mean? Well, being the originalist, he looked to contemporary sources to say, all right, when these white guys in Philadelphia wrote these words, what did they mean? What did those terms mean at the time? So he looked to other sources to see what they meant. There's two that were really key. One is 1689 English Bill of Rights. So that was a long time ago. That was a couple kings ago for these colonists. And at that time, that Bill of Rights, part of it was it guaranteed Protestant men to be able to carry weapons. So that was one understanding. And the other was Blackstone's commentaries. So up until Abraham Lincoln's time that was pretty much what lawyers used to know what the law is. It's hard to imagine now when in my office I have thousands of books, which I never look at because it's all on the computer now. Back in those times, they had Blackstone's commentaries, which was a volume of, depending on your version, between 3 and 6 books. That was the law. That was the English common law. But that's what they looked at there. Blackstone's commentaries, Scalia looked at the right of self-defense. What do you carry weapons? What it meant to violate the public order? If you fire a gun on New Year's Day, is that bad? Fire a gun in a bar, can you carry a gun in church, stuff like that. I had to throw this in because I went to school in Delaware. One of the sources was the first laws of the state of Delaware from 1797. That caught my attention. Webster's Dictionary, the Militia Act. I don't know if anybody caught this, but he also pointed out this Georgia law from 1770 in Georgia requiring militia qualified men to carry their firearm to church. Had to. So everybody 18 to 45 and white and free, you had to have a gun if you went to church. Pretty interesting in Georgia, huh? As far as self-defense, Scalia pointed out that the right of self-defense is a pre-existing right. That's another concept that we've talked about in some of these lectures before. The concept of natural law, or God's law, or divine law. The idea that as just the fact of being a human being on earth, you have some certain rights. It's not that the government gave you the rights. You had the rights already. They're pre-existing. So in terms of the Constitution, the rights that you have as a human being pre-existed the Constitution itself. It's not that the Constitution grants you these rights to bear arms or grants you a right to free speech and so on. You already had those rights just by being a human being. The Constitution is there to protect them and prevent the government from taking them away. Pre-existing right, in fact, and this is a common thought in legal theory, actually the law of self-defense is probably the very first natural law. And that makes sense to me because if you look at animals or if you can imagine cavemen, I mean, geez, you punch me, I'm punching you back. That's it, right? It's pretty natural. So we didn't need the Constitution or the government to tell us that we can defend ourselves. And that ends up being important in terms of can you possess a firearm? Well, if you have a pre-existing right to self-defense, then it naturally flows that you might have the right to have the instruments of that defense also. But Scalia definitely talked about that. So where is self-defense the strongest? Based on English law and based on philosophy and so forth, this right to self-defense is the most important and the most strong at home. And that's been the case for hundreds of years